it's Michelle, and I've been playing around doing some ink blending, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I want to show you guys the card that I came up with. It's going to be a fairy silhouette card. So I've got my card base cut from black cardstock, and that's an A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I cut a piece of a purple color cardstock for the inside, so we'll have a light colored space to stamp or handwrite a sentiment inside. And the purple just came from a pack of Astrobrights cardstock that I got from Walmart. And I think I'm going to have that a top folding card to get that oriented the way that I need to get my fairy scene on there. And we'll just set that aside while we work on our other elements. And I've got a fairy that I die cut from black cardstock, the same cardstock that I used for my card base, and that is just from an unbranded die that I got on eBay, and I'll leave you the link to that as well. And then I've got a silver moon, and I just did that with my 1 3/4 round punch, and I'll leave you a link to this also. And I just did that double punch technique, just like double punching, double die cutting that I've showed you guys before. I did this and used the part that was left from the first circle here. I used as a leaf shape once before in my Snow White treat bag video, and I showed you how to do the moon from that also in my double die cutting. So it's the same concept with dies or punches, whatever you're using. And I just punched that out of the silver glitter paper with the adhesive backing that I got at Dollar Tree. You guys may remember I showed you in a Dollar Tree haul video that I did. That was at Dollar Tree. 3 sheets of that in a pack for $1. And this pack I think had silver, gold, and red. And I thought that would be the perfect little silver moon in the sky above my fairy. And also will help accentuate the fact that she is a silhouette because it's dark and just the moon to light her. And I forgot to mention the size that I cut my purple piece to on the inside. I cut that at 4 inches by 5 1/4. And here I have a piece of watercolor paper that I also cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and that's going to be matted on the front of our card just like this. So that gives just a little bit of a border from our 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card front. Okay, so I want to turn this way in the landscape orientation because I'm turning my card in that direction. I'm going to bring in a sheet of cardstock inside a page protector here, and I'm just going to use that to lay my watercolor paper on that I'm working with so that I've got a slick surface underneath to help with my ink blending. And I have a couple of ink blending tools here. This one has been used for the black, and I kind of got as much of that out as I could, so we may end up with a little bit of a darker color, but we're doing a night sky anyway, so I think it's going to be okay. Whenever I do get more of these blending pads for my ink blending tools, I plan to dedicate one per ink color so that I don't have to mix and combine, but I don't have enough right now to do that, so we're going to work with what we've got. I'm going to be using some Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I've got in the Memento Dewdrops, Lilac Posies, Lulu Lavender, and Paris Dusk. And I thought those would be very pretty colors for a night sky. So I'm going to start with my lighter color, the pinkish purpley color here. And I want that at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is get some of that ink on my ink blending tool. And these inks work pretty good for this. They are a dye ink, But I have mostly seen this technique done with the Tim Holtz Distress inks or the Distress Oxides. And I've seen much better results with the Distress Oxides. So whenever I'm able to get some of those, I'll definitely be trying this technique again with the Distress Oxides. But for now, we're using the Mementos. And for what I'm going to do on this technique, you just want something that is water-based so that it is reactive with water. So I'm going to turn this, I want the long edge to be the bottom. I'm going to turn it sideways so I can kind of pull from the side there and work sideways to create the bottom of my night sky. So I'm going to tilt my blending tool on a little bit of an edge and start off the paper and come in toward it. And you can see that I'm leaving some of that behind on my slick surface here. And I will eventually be able to pull that into, because it's going to pull right back off of my slick surface and allow me to pull it onto the paper. And I have found that that is a lot easier to work with that way. When you have a slick surface there that doesn't keep your ink, you can pull it back off of there and end up pulling that onto your paper eventually. And you always want to have your blending tool a little bit tilted and pull from the edge inward. And you want to blend it up a little farther to make sure that you're going to overlap that color with the next color that you use above it. I think that looks pretty good for my pink. Now let's try the Lulu Lavender is going to be our next color. Whoops, I need to get my darker one for this. And now I'm going to turn my paper this way so I can pull in from the side. Overlapping with the pink layer. And I'm going to do some from the other side too. And I can already tell that the darker inks that was on this blending pad is giving that a darker look than that color ink would be on its own. I'm getting a little bit too much of the black, more than what I want, so I think I'm going to use my pink and see what I can do with that one to pull in the purple color. And that's a little more purpley. And now the Paris Dusk, which is sort of a navy color. And get that on my ink pad and come in from the top of my sky. my Tuxedo black to pull in some more very dark up here at the top of the sky, and then a little bit bordering around the entire thing. And then I'm just going to lightly bring some of that black over everything. Just enough to kind of tone down the really bright colors. And I think I'm pretty happy with that as my nighttime sky. And I have gotten ink all over myself, but that's okay. I'm going to bring in a baby wipe and just clean up my little page protector surface here. And like I told you guys, the water-based dye inks are reactive with water, and that's kind of what I want to use. I think I'm going to flip that over so I don't use that wet side. So I'm going to use the fact that this is reactive with water. And you can use a toothbrush or a little spritzer bottle or whatever you want to use to do this effect. And I've just recently gotten the Arteza water brushes, and I think I'm going to try that. Just to flick and sprinkle a little bit of water onto my night sky and see if I can get a sprinkly little reaction on that ink. I'm going to come over here to the side and squeeze some of that water down in there to get my bristles a little bit wetter. And how wet you get your bristles is just going to depend on how much reaction and how big of water blobs you want in your night sky. So I'm pumping some water out here, but then I'm dabbing off the really huge drips. I'm just wanting some little sprinkles in the sky. I'm going to bring that up and see if you guys can see some of that reacting I'm getting on there. Got some of the bigger blobs that I really didn't want, but I guess we'll just kind of see if we can balance them out. Maybe add a couple of more bigger blobs. And you can leave this to dry before you go any further, or you can do like I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in my heat tool and go ahead and dry that and try to get some of that bowing out of it. think I warped my page protector with my heat tool. I should have moved that first. So now we've got our ink blended nighttime sky with our water reactive little sprinkles in the background there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card front. And I think that's going to look really good. And I'm going to use my Craft Bond glue stick. And again, you can use whatever adhesive you prefer. I like the glue sticks because it gives me a little bit of time to work and make sure that I can get it centered up good. Okay, and now I'm going to put my fairy silhouette on there, and I'm just going to turn her over backwards. And on the back of that, I'm going to use my Zig two-way glue pen. Now this is called two-way because you can use it as a permanent glue or a temporary glue. As a temporary glue, you can put this on the back of something and allow it to air dry for about a minute or so, and then it's going to have sort of a temporary adhesive on the back, sort of like a post-it note. Or you can adhere it while your glue is still wet, and that way you're going to get a permanent bond. And when I ordered this, they had the finer points out of stock, so I had to get the chisel tip, but they do make a finer point on these, which I think is great for these little intricate areas in die cuts. That way you can make sure that your entire die cut is going to be adhered down and no little loose edges coming up. It goes on blue, but it does dry clear. And I really like this. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to get another type of adhesive onto all these tiny little intricate cuts. I'm going to go back over quickly where some of those are starting to turn clear on me because they may be drying. And I'll only get that temporary bond, and I want the permanent bond. So I'm going to set her over in the corner here. And then I'm going to take my silver moon and hang that in the sky. And because we used that adhesive backed paper, that is super easy to just peel that off, and then you can just stick that down. Right up in the corner there. And I think I'm going to come in with my Wink of Stella pen and maybe just touch some little dots here and there. I think I'm just going to dot around a little bit. And maybe space them out a little farther apart as you come down lower. I think I'm even going to come back and dab those off with my finger because I don't want really bold silver dots. I just want to add some little spots of sparkle to the sky, just really subtle. And I think that's all I want to add to it. We've got the lighter color inside here so we can stamp a sentiment or put a handwritten sentiment. And if you wanted to, you could put a little sentiment strip or a little sentiment cloud or something out here. But for mine, I think I just want to leave it just like that on the outside. And I really had a lot of fun with that ink blending and the water sprinkling. I'm really enjoying learning some of these techniques, and I'm having so much fun, and I think this card turned out beautifully. So leave a comment below and let me know what you think of my fairy silhouette card. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give me a like over on my Facebook page. And be sure to join our Facebook group, Craftie Minds. Follow me on Pinterest and Instagram. And don't forget to visit my blog. I'll put the links to those in the description below, so be sure and check them out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.